Hey, this is Vlad from Nova Media Marketing, and in today's video, we're going to talk about the truth behind running ads all the time and how this will affect your author business. And I'm going to share with you the 7 things that always happen when you run ads, and you'll see how they impact your business. Now, back in 2017, I was working with 5 contemporary romance authors, and they were all at the top of the charts. So they were very competitive. They were doing really good. All the launches were in top 100, and this is back in 2017. And we're doing mainly with Facebook ads back then. So I've noticed one thing. Out of all of those 5, at the end of a year, there was one that was outperforming everyone, right? And I wonder, like, why is this author doing much better than the other ones when they were all kind of sharing the same information? They were all leveraging what they were doing, interests. I was doing their ads, right? So it's the same person doing their marketing, but the results were very different. Why was that? I've noticed that this author, she was outspending everyone, and she was more focused on the long-term approach rather than focusing on what is like the best return I can get this month, what's the best return I can get the second month, and so on and so forth. The thing that I've noticed is that running ads should be about acquiring readers versus getting good returns on your investment. And this is very important because when you focus on getting a good ROI, like a good investment on your ads, that will naturally force you to stay smaller, right? So you can spend $20,000 a month and make $40,000 in profit or $50,000 in profit, but you can also spend $40,000 in ads and make $60,000 in profit. And this is exactly what was happening with the other author. She was making more profit, but at a lower return. And what she was doing, she was always capturing more readers, because when you run ads, you're essentially just acquiring new readers that would ultimately read all of your books. As an author, you don't run ads with the goal of having good returns. You should run ads to acquire readers. Like, that's the most important thing. And when you try to get really good returns, what that's going to lead to is you spending less money because you want to have good returns. Therefore, spend less, make more. What happens in the long term, right? Like, you're always chasing better returns. What that will, most of the times, it will force you to spend less. And basically, you're just always in a position where you're actually not getting the most of the marketing that you could be doing and acquiring more readers from the market. Because if you were to spend a year a lot of money on ads, you would be acquiring a lot of readers. Let's say you decide to not spend that much money on ads, you now have a really good audience, a really good pool of readers that already read the other books. And if you decide to launch without that many ads, you will still be able to get more money for those books versus if you were to spend less money on marketing, because if you spend less, you're acquiring less readers, right? And you don't have a really good pool of readers that you can sell your books to. And this is exactly what happens with smaller authors, where they start running the ads, then they start getting less efficient, and then they stop doing the ads, or they spend less and less. And that ultimately, in 3 months, they're no longer spending ads because they stopped working, right? But you have to understand there's a fluctuation in performance, and you always need to find a way to keep spending money profitably on ads. Even though if it's not going to be the best returns, in the long term, it would always pay off. If you don't run ads consistently, then you're gonna be much smaller, and you're gonna probably be stuck in a point where you need to launch new books in order to make money. Whereas the guy that is always spending money, if he's gonna do the launch, he's also gonna make more money. So he's basically relying on 2 ways to make money: running ads and launches as well, versus the ones that don't commit to spend money on ads. They will only rely basically on launches to have good months. Now let's get into the 7 things that happen when you run ads all the time. Now here's the things that happen when you run ads continuously. So number 1 would be that Amazon starts recommending your books, right? So when I go ahead and let's say that I check a competitor's book, and I go and I just check the rank and see, like if it's a competitor that I'm curious how they're doing, and I want to maybe look at their blurb or study them, see what's going on. If I go like every time on that book page, I will then start getting messages from Amazon saying, hey, check out this book, start reading this book, and so on. When I buy it, then Amazon starts sending me emails to continue reading the series, right? So Amazon is actively trying to sell your books when someone lands on your book page. And what happens with ads is, like, you're always bringing people to your page, especially if you're getting a lot of clicks from your ads. So they're going to get reminded to start reading. So even if they haven't got the book, they might get it from the emails that they're getting from Amazon. So number 2 is increased read-through and social proof. So what happens when someone buys a book from a Facebook ad is this ad will show up in their feed again and again. And if you guys run ads, you typically see that you're going to get comments from people that already bought your book, book and they're saying like, this series is amazing, I'm actually on book 4, highly recommend, right? So this is great because what the ad is doing is reminding them to also keep reading the series, right? So they bought book 1, they keep seeing the ad, they land on book 1 and then say, oh, actually I'm at book 3, let's go ahead and continue. So you're constantly reminding them to read the rest of the series, therefore it increases the read-through. And then they also typically leave a review where they recommend the book to other readers. And then the other readers, they can see that, they can trust that this is a good book, they can be intrigued and go on Amazon and also buy the book. Number 3 is better launches and better ranks. And basically when you run ads, you're always acquiring new readers, considering you have a link at the back of your books where they can sign up for a freebie, right? So you're actually getting buyers on the email list. And when you do launches, let's say you have book 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let's say book 7 is coming out. With every launch that you do, if you always run ads, your launches are gonna get better and better and better. They're gonna generate more money. The ranks are gonna be higher because you're always growing this pool of readers. And then by the time the next book is out, you have more readers to sell this book to. And what that does is like, it actually affects the Amazon rank where they see this as a positive thing. So they see that every launch is getting better. In their eyes, this is a really good series. Therefore, it's gonna favor it and it's gonna push it higher in the ranks and you're gonna get the visibility from Amazon. Number 4 is you get a stable income and less fluctuations in your revenue. So most authors, we know that they can go from like making $2,000 per month to $7,000 per month to then having a bad month and then making $15,000, right? So when you put it at the end of the year, you see that you actually didn't make so much, but you maybe had some good months. The thing that happens when you learn to run ads all the time is you don't have to rely on launches to have good months. You have ads that bring you profit, and then when you do the launches, they're gonna be even more profitable. And we have clients that they haven't had any launches for 2 years. We just rely on ads to make money. And we're making around like $20,000 per month. It's not the most. We have clients that are making over $100,000 in profit, but it's still okay. Like they don't actually have to do anything. We just run the ads for them. They don't launch, they just send out some emails and that's pretty much it. So when you run ads, then you're in a position where you're making money from 2 sources, launches as well as the money that you're putting in from the ads. They're both profitable and that leads to a more consistent business, right? You can predict things, and because you're always acquiring new readers, typically your revenue and most of your profit is gonna come from the ads that you run and not the launches that you do. And this is a very good position to be in. We have cases where, you know, if we were not to make any launch, we would make like $200,000 in revenue. If we were to make a launch, they would make $230,000. So you see how the launch is not the main thing that's driving the revenue. It's adding it on top and it helps to generate even more, but the main profit comes from running ads. Number 5, you get better organic visibility. And the way the Amazon algorithm works is it will always favor the books that are consistent over the ones that are inconsistent. And you can have a book that's not as good, but it's always getting traffic, it's always getting people, it's always getting purchases, versus a book that's really good that's not getting advertised. Like that will fluctuate in ranks, it's gonna be lower in ranks. And then even if you're a good author with good books, you're still gonna be at a disadvantage because the ones that are probably not as good as you, they're advertising and making more money and their books are better in the eyes of the algorithm. So running ads all the time, it puts you an advantage compared to your competition. Number 6, you're constantly growing your fan base. When you run ads, you're acquiring readers. That's what you're doing, right? You're always acquiring readers. And the more you run ads and the more you spend profitably, the bigger your audience is gonna be. And that's how you actually grow a fan base. And number 7, you get paid more to write a book. And this is because in all series or all books, there's read-through happening. So imagine book 1 in its lifetime generated $10,000. The normal or average healthy read-through that needs to happen is 60% of the revenue that was generated in book 1 needs to move over to book 2. So that would mean that if you generate $10,000 in book 1, book 2 should generate $6,000, around there. Now, if you sell $100,000, then book 2 is going to be worth $60,000. So it's really up to you to determine how much you want your books to be worth. And then from book 2 to book 3, there's usually like 80% read-through revenue moves, like 80% of the revenue moves over to book 3. And then from book 3 and on, it usually is 90%. And then after like 14 books, then it starts dropping because people get kind of bored of the series and don't want to continue. So that's like a point where everything starts to diminish and it would probably be better to start a new series. But the main important thing is that you need to sell as much copies as you can in book 1, and that will determine how much you get paid. Because if if you know that book 5 in your series made $50,000, you can easily assume that book 7 or 6 is actually going to make around $45,000, $40,000 in profit, right? So you know what you can expect if you're going to go ahead and release a new book. So the authors that are willing to spend money on ads consistently are going to get amplified by all of the 7 points that I just mentioned. They will get paid more to write a book. Amazon's going to push their books higher. They're going to have a more predictable and sustainable revenue. They're not going to have so many fluctuations, and they're also ultimately going to satisfy more readers, which is a very good thing in the eyes of the algorithm. Turning ads off serves nothing more than just having a better return. And there's a price to pay for that. If you do that, you're ultimately not going to reach your author potential. Not a lot of people are going to know about you. You're going to get paid less to write new books. You're probably going to rely on launches to do, a good month or sustain your revenue throughout the year, which I think can be very frustrating. But you want to be in a position where you're not really worried, if you're going to make money whether you launch or not. And that ultimately leads to a smaller business that has no way of attracting new readers. And that's obviously not something that you want for your business. You want your business to thrive. You want to be in a position where you have choices, whether that's not writing or just focusing on marketing or taking a break. That's, I feel, what writing books should be about. It's about freedom and enjoying what you do without having to, worry so much and always constantly having to write and not miss deadlines. If you found this video useful, please like, share, and subscribe. And let me know in the comments below what are the things that you found useful and what are the things that you can do to start improving and growing your author business in the next 30 days.